We're driving a 2024 Dodge Hornet. Coming up, we're going to experience Power Shot. And we're going to tell you what the hell that is. The Dodge Hornet is a small SUV crossover utility vehicle that was introduced for the 2023 model year. We're driving the plug-in hybrid version, which is new for 2024. Let's begin with interior.
The interior looks super sleek and stylish. I really like the metallic looking bits. The optional Harman Kardon audio system has these metallic looking grates.
I think that might actually be metal because of the way it's catching my fingernails.
Yeah.
Although if we're talking metal, these paddle shifters are such a nice touch, and they give a little hint about the Dodge Hornet's shared origins with the Alfa Romeo Tonale. Your fingers kind of brush up against them like you're a Russian model Hornet. HVAC controls, all very simple to use.
And these seats are so stylish. Despite it being on the small side, there's actually decent storage in here. There's this great spot for your phone that has a wireless charger and charge ports, double sauce pockets.
Yeah, also a little bit of door storage here, two unimpeded cup holders, although I have a little concern here in that this plastic, I'll bet this gets chipped and messed up pretty quickly as people clumsily bring their cups down to the cup holder.
And this touch point here really feels plasticky, like you can kind of get your fingernails under there and flex it a little bit.
The vehicle we're driving is more than $50,000, which is a big step up above the base price. And what happens then is that some of the materials get nicer, and then some of them don't. Window switches or hard plasticky spots.
The center console is actually really deep. You're not fitting anything wide in there, but we've got several pairs of flying eyes.
Speaking of space, it's hard to categorize the Hornet. The base price aligns with compact SUVs, but by size, it's a little closer to a subcompact. I fit behind my preferred front seat position in the back seat. My head does clear, my knees do clear, my feet have decent amount of space. I can even fit in that center position, but it's not an excess of space. I am an average dude, 5'10" with a long torso. If you were a tall person, the back seats might be a little bit more of a challenge. The seat backs, for my taste, are a bit vertical. These days, it's really common for compact SUVs to have adjustable seat backs, and I wish I could have just a little bit of recline back there. More positively, I do like that they've got rear vents standard, and cargo space is actually pretty good. 27 cubic feet is the max. In the plug-in hybrid version we're driving, it's 22.9. That's still more than, let's say, a Mazda CX-30. There's also a little underfloor area, which is a convenient spot to hold the charging paraphernalia, because again, this is a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. If you have larger items, you can do the 60/40 split fold, although I wish it folded a little bit flatter.
I really like how there's that bit in the middle that folds down in case you have a long item you'd like to store.
One feature we have in the back of the vehicle is the optional power hatchback, although I have seen other reviews mention that in the non-powered hatch version, there's really nowhere to grab. There's just like a little indent that you pull, and if you're shorter, like Sweetie here, that might be tricky. Another thing we don't have in the back is a spare tire, and it's the kind of thing I never really thought about until I got a gouge in a tire while driving a Prius that did not have a spare tire. Man, having a fix-it-flat system when you gouge a tire is not convenient. I hope you have cell service, and I hope you have AAA. Kiddo, how do you find getting in and out of the Dodge Hornet?
I just think it's pretty easy and flow.
Ah, that makes sense, yeah. And I also noticed that the door opens really wide.
When you're opening that door, you really have to be careful with that piece of trim. I smacked myself in my flying eyes.
Did you really?
I did.
Thank heaven those are made out of Brazilomite and have that scratch-resistant polycarbonate lens situation going on there. Otherwise, who knows what would have happened. Sweetie, thank you for that great brand integration. If you would appreciate aviation-grade eyewear in your life, click the link in the description below. You can learn all about flying eyes and why we wear them in the helicopter and in our normal life. Flying eyes. Now,
I'm okay. Just so you know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
You know, yeah, now that you mentioned it, that would have been a really, really thoughtful follow-up. Sweetie, is there any way you can integrate the brand Flying Eyes into your discussion of installing the rear booster seat?
No. Installing the rear booster seat was quite simple. The latch points have no covers. Flying Eyes.
Smooth.
Half-ass. I do wonder if we had a rear-facing child seat. It seems like you'd be sharing room with the front passenger and the rear car seat.
As for safety, we've got a full suite of active assist, automatic emergency braking with pedestrian and bicyclist detection, lane keeping assist. There are 7 airbags, including a driver's knee airbag, and we also have adaptive cruise control. From a crash perspective, neither the NHTSA nor IIHS have rated the Dodge Hornet just yet. Family, what do we think? Is the Dodge Hornet family friendly?
You could definitely make this work, but I think because of its size, it's a little on the smaller side. We're not going to give it the family-friendly label.
Rear window test. Almost all the way down. Woo! Armrest test. We've got an adjustable inboard that comes forward for easier access. Stitching here, but it's not too abrasive. On the outboard, it's a bit more of a reach, though I do find that to be a soft place to put my elbow. I'm gonna go 90% inboard, 70% outboard. Hey, would you like to see more videos like this where we review cars as a family, plus the occasional helicopter adventure? If so, you are welcome to subscribe. And if you really like what we do, you're also welcome to hit that join button for membership to our channel. Onward to style.
I really like this vehicle in this color.
Acapulco Gold, which every time I say that, I'm like, kind of want a margarita.
Yes.
That sounds really good.
I like how the rear window comes down into like a little point.
Kind of a hexagonal honeycomb trim treatment up by the front air extractors. They've taken a platform that's shared elsewhere with Stellantis, and they've tried to infuse Dodgeness into it. And I think from some angles, they've done a successful job. The version we're driving has the blacktop pack, which darkens up the exterior trim a little bit, and it also has the track pack, which explains those cool red brake calipers. If you go on the configurator, the only free colors are black or white. So if you want any of those cool colors, get ready to spend $500 or $600. Overall, we're feeling some positive sentiment about the style of the Dodge Hornet, but what do you think? Do you like the Dodge Hornet? If so, if no, tell us in the comment section. In motion! I find the ride quality to be firm, but not too firm. To me, as I ride around and you kind of feel the road, that reminds you that there is some sporting intention in the vehicle. Now, the version we're driving has dual mode suspension, so I'm gonna put it in sport mode right now. Let's see if we can feel a difference. I could really feel a difference when I was driving on choppy pavement, and so this really firms things up. It also heavies up the steering, and this is one of the rare vehicles where I actually prefer sport mode when driving sportily. Because of the general lightness of the steering, normally I actually kind of prefer that. So there's a little bit of a rubbery pull back to center, where it sounds like, oh, so it steers poorly. Well, not really. There's this great connection between your inputs as a driver and then what the vehicle does. And I feel like it tracks quite true around corners. Also, the tires on this RT Plus trim are quite grippy. So if you want, you can actually corner very quickly in this thing. In terms of ratio, I like the immediacy as you come off center, but it doesn't feel too quick, too darty. One complaint I had heard from other reviewers is torque steer. Oh, if you get on it mid-corner, it'll kind of pull the steering wheel this way or that way. Ready, set, go. Nope. Now, some of those complaints may have come from the standard gasoline engine rather than the hybrid, but I didn't feel anything notable there in terms of torque steer. Speaking of power, I have had times where when I'm cruising, let's say already like at 40, 45, when I floor it, I don't get the acceleration I want. Floor. Whee! That felt pretty good. Let me undo my point. But I've had a couple of moments where it doesn't feel like everything's working together. I had read that the 9-speed isn't always as pulled together as it ought to be, but the 6-speed has done a little bit of that too. We had one moment coming up a hill where my foot was steady, but the revs were kind of like rising up and down, almost like something was like slipping and engaging and slipping.
That's the kind of thing that I would not notice, and I noticed it with this vehicle.
As mentioned repeatedly, this is a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. You've got a few different modes. Standard mode is hybrid mode. You can put it into a pure EV mode. This is electric mode right now. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna floor it and try not to get the gasoline engine involved and just see how it feels on electric power alone. Yeah, that feels like something. And then you've got this other mode called eSave, and that'll allow you to save your battery for later, for whatever reason you might want to do that, or you can even use the gasoline engine to charge the battery. In the beginning of the video, we teased that there's a feature called Power Shot, and we were going to experience it and also explain what it is. What you have to do is you have to put it in sport mode first, and you pull both of these paddles, and then it activates a little indicator in the screen that doesn't say Power Shot, but you have to know that's what it's doing, and that'll give you maximum acceleration from a stop. Kiddo, count me off.
1, 2, 3.
Floored. Power Shot's active. Feels zippy. With Power Shot engaged, that'll give you 0 to 60 time of 5.6 seconds, which according to like the press materials is 1.5 seconds faster than normal. It's a little bit engaging. Oh, I've engaged a mode. The off-putting part is that you have to go into sport mode and pull the paddles in order to get maximum acceleration. And to my mind, if you want maximum acceleration from the vehicle, it should be a little bit easier than that. Power Shot is not just like a launch control feature, it's for any time you're driving. So if I wanted maximum acceleration now, let's say to pass a vehicle, I would need to pull both paddles, it's engaged, and then I can floor it. Whee! My only other problem with Power Shot is that in any other Italian sports car, if you pull both paddles, it puts the car in neutral. If you're driving in Miami and you want to impress people who are in bikinis on rollerblades nearby, you pull both of those paddles and go vroom vroom. So I have to retrain my muscle memory from all that revving I do with Lamborghinis in Miami.
That must be very hard for you.
Last quick thought, the Dodge Hornet, when it's idling, sounds really meaty. I'm just gonna floor it right now, floored. You can tell they wanted it to sound like a Dodge, but it doesn't fully translate when you're driving. It's only when you're hanging out near the back and the car's idling. All right, we've had enough of me speaking. What does Sweetie think? Sweetie's at the wheel.
I really like steering it.
You get immediate responses as you make those inputs, right?
Yes, and I don't tend to derive a lot of driving joy out of stuff like this, but for some reason, I really like driving this car.
What about visibility?
All the pillars are very large over my right shoulder. I feel like that would be difficult to see because there's that tiny little window. Weirdly, over my left shoulder, which is always an issue, I can see just fine.
What about power? Do you feel like you have enough of it? How'd you feel off the line there?
I felt great. There was a lot of power there.
Yeah, you get that EV torque when you're coming from a standstill, and it does feel strong.
There were occasions when I was already in motion where I attempted to apply more gas and I felt like the car would not downshift for me.
There is a little bit of powertrain weirdness that if you spend enough time with the Hornet, it's like, wait, is it supposed to be doing that? 2 questions. Do you feel comfortable driving this thing?
I do.
Are you having fun driving this thing?
I am. Isn't that weird?
Wow, Sweetie's comfortable and having fun. This is a rare moment. Let's bask in it. I'm getting back in the driver's seat. Overall, there is some fun potential driving the Dodge Hornet, and I like that in the PHEV, you can get that EV range, but I do think that there is some finesse missing from the powertrain. Moving onward to remarks. Remark number 1, infotainment. We've got a standard 10.25-inch screen here.
The graphics are really crisp and it's easy to navigate my way through the menu, but the icons are so small.
They're generally small in the native interface, but when you go to CarPlay, I've never seen a podcast app tab that small. There are times when driving where I just have hit the wrong one.
Thank goodness there's this thumb rest to anchor your hand while you're navigating through the tiny little
I think it's more than a thumb rest. We've got a thumb balcony here, and I really like having a good place to anchor my hand.
Another thing I like about this infotainment system is how reconfigurable it is, that you can change out the widgets and have your favorites on the home screen.
Besides being small in places, I think Uconnect 5 is easy to use, and I also like that Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, both wireless, come standard. Oh, and Alexa is built in, so if you want to scream instructions at your car and have it yield to your unreasonable demands, that is a thing you can do. Over here, we've got a standard 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster, and I like the vividness, and it seems to give me all the information I need. One modest complaint, though, to change the display here, it's the button over here on this stalk, and these stalks are kind of hard to see. We have the optional tech package in here, and that has highway driving assist, a hands-on level 2 driving assist feature. In my experience, I did notice it wandering a bit on the freeway, which is just as well because if my hands have to be on the wheel, I may as well be driving. All right, let's talk engine choices. The base engine is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder paired with a 9-speed automatic transmission. All-wheel drive comes standard. Then there's the 1.3-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder plug-in hybrid version we've got here. It comes with a 6-speed automatic. It adds $10,000 to the price tag. There's no federal tax credit for purchasing it. However, there is a lease loophole, at least as of when we made this video. Consult your local dealer to verify. Sweetie.
Yes.
May I give you a trim recommendation?
Sure.
Our trim recommendation is which trim will give you the essential features you would regret not getting, but at the lowest possible price. We'd go with the base GT version, which gives you that 10.25-inch infotainment screen, dual zone automatic climate control, and smart key access. And it'll run 0 to 60 in a still speedy 6.5 seconds, $30,735. As for competitors, the Dodge Hornet is basically a Dodgified version of the Alfa Romeo Tonale. The Tonale is only sold as a PHEV and compares very similarly to the Dodge Hornet PHEV. So if you want Italian flair, get the Alfa. Potential subcompact competitors might include the Chevy Trailblazer, Honda HR-V, Subaru Crosstrek, and ooh, that new 2024 Hyundai Kona looks cool. It is much cheaper, although it's also much less powerful than the Hornet. More direct comparisons might come from the 2023 Hyundai Kona N, which in my opinion is more fun to drive than the Hornet. Then there's the Mazda CX-30 Turbo. And if you were curious what we thought about the Mazda CX-30, you can click right up here. Did we miss any remarks? If so, tell us in the comment section. Synopsis! It's very dark here. In thinking about the essence of the Dodge Hornet, if you like power, it is the prime choice, but it'll cost you. To me, it is the Vitamix blender of small SUVs. Family, I think we've done a good job reviewing the Dodge Hornet. May I have a 5 and a 5 and you? Come get your high five. Bam! Ah! 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 I got a little enthusiastic there, guys. Sorry.